You may have heard by now that there has been a big controversy involving United Airlines. And what happened was there was a flight from Chicago O'Hare to Louisville, and because of a supposed overboarding situation, but actually what had happened was the airline decided that they needed to get some of their staff on a connecting flight. It's being reported as an overboarding situation, but anyway, apparently they bargained with passengers to voluntarily get off. Apparently, overboarding is or overbooking, I should say, is a common trait in the airline industry. Airlines do it apparently to compensate for empty seats. But in this situation, it's rare that it happens on flight. It usually is sorted out at the reception desk at the airport terminal. Anyway, in this situation, three passengers they did opt to leave. But this man, David Dow from Louisville or from Kentucky, refused. And apparently it was because he was a doctor and he needed to be in the hospital the following day. Now, there's a number of videos circulating around, but absolutely none of them show the airline in a good light. They then forcibly removed this man from his seat. This is a 69-year-old man. Forcibly removed him from his seat. Several of the video clips show him bloodied on the mouth. Um, and this is their initial official statement. Flight 3411 from Chicago to Louisville was overbooked. After our team looked for volunteers, one customer refused to leave the aircraft voluntarily, and law enforcement was asked to come to the gate. Now, my immediate reading of that is they are treating this passenger who has paid for his ticket like a criminal, like a common criminal. This is absolute overreach. It's an utter disgrace. And if it hadn't been for the woman who filmed this, it wouldn't be circulating around right now. There are insinuations and some comments that have been saying that it was racist because it was an Asian man. Some sources say Chinese, some say Vietnamese. I don't think there's any evidence it was racist. Apparently, this random selection of passengers was based on a computer system. So I don't think there's any evidence that it was based on racism. Nevertheless, it was a disgrace the way the passenger was treated. As Amira Walker on CNN said, it was like they treated him like a common criminal. And this is just, it's appalling. It's a complete abuse of power. Um, so that was their initial statement. Now, Facebook, their page on Facebook, this was the response of CEO Oscar Muniz initially. And this is quite important. This was their initial response, um, his initial response. This is an upsetting event for all of us here at United. I apologize for having to re-accommodate these customers. Our team is moving with a sense of urgency to work with the authorities and conduct our own detailed review of what happened. We are also reaching out to this passenger to talk directly to him and further address and resolve this situation. Now look at that statement again. The very first line is, "This is an upsetting event to all of us here at United." That indicates his thinking. His initial thought is self-pity, immediately thinking of his staff and not thinking about the legitimate concern and anger that is coming from a lot of people. It's a complete PR disaster. Now, he has released another statement today in which he's changed his tune quite radically, saying the truly horrific event that occurred on this flight has elicited many responses from all of us. Outrage, anger, disappointment. I share all those sentiments. And he goes on to express regret and apologize. But I think that's only come about because of the backlash. And I do question, would he be using the same sentiments if there hadn't been this sort of internet backlash? Now, generally speaking, I don't like trial by media in the sense that, people can be very quick to articulate views without knowing the whole situation. But I've looked at the videos, I've looked at his own statement. So we have seen both sides. And I get the impression they're basically just acting like a paramilitary. I mean, this is an utter disgrace. And I don't know how it can be condoned in any way. In fact, I haven't seen a single person outside the airline try to condone it. Apparently United has lost stock because of this. I really have no sympathy. I mean, in terms of aviation law, now CNN was talking to an aviation expert about this. In terms of the legalities of it, what rights do the customers have? Well, apparently there is an assumption that once you've taken your seat, you have a reasonable assumption that you're going to make the flight. And apparently, it's standard practice in overboarding situations, overbooking situations, to barter in that way. And apparently, aviation law is that passengers can be mandated to leave, but to do it in this way, to physically drag an elderly man out of his seat. Clearly, he was in distress. One video shows him coming back. He's clearly very in a state of shock, even saying, "Please kill me" or something like that. So whether he's dazed and confused, I don't know. But whatever way you look at it, this is really terrible PR for United Airlines. Now, a caveat to this, I understand that sometimes there are two sides to a story, and sometimes cabin staff have to put up with drunks and rowdy behaviour and so on. Initially, the airline tried to slander this man and suggest that he was the one being unreasonable. But he's a doctor apparently, and he needed to be with patients. That is a very legitimate reason for having to take the flight. So I don't think it's a case he was just being stubborn. And there's many other scenarios. People might be going to a family funeral. Um, it seems to me they could have handled this much, much better. As for their staff needing to get connecting flight, surely there could be some arrangement in these situations. They would then get some sort of private chartered flight or something. But I don't know. But to physically drag a passenger off a flight, it's the behavior of a police state, and I'm just baffled by it, to be honest. Um, Apparently, the resolution situation for overbooking, this is very unconventional as well. So that seems to me that United Airlines is showing arrogance. They just think they can do what they want now. I think Oscar Munoz, I don't know what he's thinking, but my instinct that is he's only responding now the way he is because the company has suffered big losses financially. I think that's the only reason he's showing contriteness now. But this is important because it impacts all of us. You know, when big companies get away with this sort of thing, or when they're not held to account, then it will continue happening. So people might think it's overblown, but the consequences are very, very important. And we're talking about basic civil liberty here. I don't think it's an exaggeration. I don't think it's a racism incident. I dismiss that because there's no evidence to suggest that is the reason. But it's disgraceful to treat a paying customer like a common criminal in this way. Apparently, one of the air marshals has been suspended, but I detest that sort of abuse of power. And it isn't the first time United Airlines has been in hot water. Now, I'll close this video on a more positive note. There was a situation involving Turkish Airlines in which a baby was born on a flight to a mother from Burkina Faso, and the airline crew on that flight were widely praised for their exemplary conduct, and they apparently helped to deliver the baby. They acted as midwives, so respect to them for that. And that's certainly a story for that family to tell the little girl. I think it was a little girl when she grows up. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts. And let me know if you've experienced United Airlines. How was your experience? I've been to the States once a long time ago. I can't remember what flight we used. Um, but I do know United has a bad name because that's every time I see someone talk about United, it's negative. So that's the perception I have. Perception is so very important. Okay, thanks for watching.